Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Crimax, where in this episode we're going to be talking about the Broomstick Murderer, Kenneth McDuff. Now, I don't know about you, but there is only one thing that comes to mind when I hear Broomstick Murderer.
That it's terrible and people should not commit felonies.
No, not at all.
What comes to your mind?
Sodomy.
Why do you sound so enthused about that?
I'm not enthused.
Okay.
Sodomy is a very, very serious topic. Anyways, so before we get into our fun fact, I'm going to turn it over to my baby bear to give a quick synopsis. Just take it away, baby bear.
Thank you. So today we're talking about Kenneth McDuff, the Broomstick Murderer. He is correct. There is a little bit of sodomy involved. So if you're into, well, not if you're into, if you are against sexual violence, you're offended by it, not the episode for you, but also true crime probably isn't for you if you're offended by that because it happens a lot. But today we're talking about him, and the justice system is really what failed in this case.
Yeah, but it always fails for the most part. That's not new.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really shocked, but this is a little bit extreme because he was on death row and then he wasn't, and more people died. So, yeah, go ahead and give us our fun fact before we get into today's case.
All right, well, our fun fact is going to be on our little friend, the pistol shrimp, if anyone has ever heard of these little guys. If you haven't, you should look them up. They're really great.
Do they taste good?
I don't know. Never really had one. But
I don't know what kind of shrimp I eat when
I don't think you're going to really want to eat them. They're only about 2 centimeters long.
Okay, well, in Florida, the shrimps are like 8 times the size they are in North Carolina.
They're huge.
They're enormous.
Oh, yeah, they're huge. But no, the pistol shrimp's only about 2 centimeters long. But what's really interesting about it is that it uses its claw to basically kill its prey with almost ultrasonic vibration. It can close its claw so fast that it actually vaporizes a small part of the water around the claw, where it'll reach temperatures anywhere between, around 4,400 degrees Celsius, which is almost the temperature of the sun. So just think of this 2 centimeter animal just able to just clamp its claw so fast that it actually vaporizes the water, basically killing its prey that way. But not only that...
Wait, shrimp are the prey. What are you talking about? What do they eat? I thought they just eat like algae.
No, they'll eat other little fish and stuff like that. It's mostly defense mechanism. They'll use it to also eat any type of like small animal or small fish, things like that kind of swim around it as well. But not only is it just the fastest thing, but I recently found out today that it also is the loudest animal on the planet, to where just closing that claw can reach around 220 decibels. So it's louder than a gunshot going off point blank.
Did you just say decibels?
Decibels.
Decibels? Not decibels. What?
I said decibels?
Decibel.
Should I redo that?
No.
Okay. So yeah, this little thing is one nasty mamma jamma. But again, I say, if you guys haven't seen these or heard of these, go watch it. There's a nice little YouTube clip that actually gets a slow-mo of how these things close their claw. And you can actually see the air pocket from where the water just vaporizes for a quick second.
That's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they're delicious.
Oh, yeah. So if any of you guys have seen the new Netflix original movie, Project Power, on
Netflix?
on Netflix, you guys have already kind of seen the pistol shrimp. The main actor, Jamie Foxx, his power is basically mimicking the pistol shrimp. So that's where it kind of re-jogged and kind of brought it up for me, to where I kind of looked back into it and wanted to actually see these things in action. And so I went online and started doing some watching some YouTube videos, and yeah, they're pretty badass. So let's go ahead and get into our story now. I'm going to turn it over to Baby Bear.
Thank you. I love that you're calling me pet names in the podcast.
I gotta keep it fresh.
All right. Well, today we're talking about Kenneth Allen McDuff, the Broomstick Murderer. I got a lot of the resources from this from American Justice, which is a great show hosted by has Bill Curtis.
Don't know who that is.
Bill Curtis also he's also the narrator for like Cold Case Files.
Don't watch it.
Okay, well, I think he's hot. Like he's like a old dude, basically looks basic, but his voice I've just heard so much, so I'm like, that's hot. He's got that classic cold, neutral narrator voice that I love so much, and I love Cold Case Files. So that
Christmas present, I'm gonna get you his voice on cassettes.
You're gonna get me Cold Case Files, which is free on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
On cassette.
Yep.
We don't have a cassette player.
Christmas present number 2.
I don't want Christmas presents. Anyways, there is an American Justice episode on this. It's about 45 minutes long if you haven't seen it. If you're looking for more information on this case, you can also check out the books Free to Kill as well as Bad Boy from Rosebud, because there's not really that many resources on this case. So if you're looking for more information on it later on, those are things you can check out.
Rosebud.
Have you seen
No.
Citizen Kane?
No, actually, the only reason I know that is because Family Guy made a reference to it.
Not because it's one of my 2 favorite movies.
Yeah, pretty much. I've never seen it.
We're gonna watch it. I love Citizen Kane so much. You're gonna hate it. You didn't like Casablanca. You're gonna hate it.
It's not that I didn't like Casablanca. It's just...
You were on your phone the entire time over here crying.
Oh, you're over there crying.
I'm over here crying. I'm crying because I love Humphrey Bogart so much. Yeah. I'm gonna get a Rosebud tattoo. Then you have to watch it. But anyways, those are the resources for today's case. Also, Kenneth McDuff, we don't have too much information about his childhood and things. So he did live in Rosebud, Texas. Obviously, he's from Rosebud. And all we have about his dad is that he really didn't like him that much, and that his mom was really cool around town. I mean, she was intimidating.
Okay.
She was intimidating, but they called her the pistol packing mama. And as someone who plays Fallout 4 a lot, that's one of those songs, and like, I thought that was so funny.
Welcome to Texas.
So other than the fact that he has a pistol packing mama, which is just cool and fun to say at the same time.
Sounds sexy.
Doesn't it? It's a great song, honestly. But anyways, the only thing we know other than that is like he had like some random criminal history growing up. He usually called them pranks, like he was just doing pranks and it was crimes and robbery and stealing his mom's credit card and stuff. So he had a criminal record from an early age, but nothing too serious where it was a red flag for most people, because a lot of teenagers get into trouble. I didn't, because I was an angel. But, you know, did you?
Oh, I got in trouble all the time. I got my ass whooped every day. All day. All the time.
Why? What'd you do?
I don't know. I was just a satanic child.
Oh, but you seem so nice.
I am now because of all the ass whoopings. That's how they did it back then. That's how I'm going to eventually do it with my kids.
Whoa. Okay, well.
No, it's different. It's not abusive. An ass whooping's not abusive.
So since we don't have too much information about his childhood, he was kind of a rough child, let's go ahead to the night of his first crime, because this really isn't the main chunk of the story, but it's how he got his name, the Broomstick Murderer. So on August 6, 1966, he headed to Fort Worth, Texas with his friend, Roy Dale Green. He was upfront to Roy about his, interest in sexual violence and wanting to abuse women, and they said he was a sadist. Now, TMI, but I don't think it makes anyone a bad person to be into sexual violence. If it's not consensual, yes, of course. But I don't think someone being into pain in a sexual way is necessarily a bad thing. And I don't really like when it's brought up in documentaries unless it's non-consensual.
Everyone, I don't know what it is. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I don't know what it is. But nowadays, everyone's into choking.
Well, that looks really bad for me considering we're in a relationship.
Everyone likes to be choked these days.
See, I'm just saying, a lot of people like violence.
And then you got the really weird ones that like the knives. Feel free to cut that out if you so choose.
You know what, I'm just gonna, you know what, you brought it up, it's fine. I don't care. But call me really weird again. But anyways, yeah, do you think it's weird that they always bring up if someone's into, pain and violence in a sexual manner? Because I feel like that's so normal nowadays.
It's normalized, yes, but to an extent it can still kind of speak to somebody's personality traits, stuff like that.
See, but I feel like a lot of that's hidden.
That alone, no.
And I feel like a lot of it's hidden too. So you wouldn't know if someone's into something until they murder someone. And you're like, oh, this is the root cause of that. Like back when they were blaming porn for everyone being violent.
Nobody pays attention to people until they start killing.
But anyways, on the night of August 6, 1966, Kenneth went to a baseball field near their nearby town near Fort Worth and decided to act on this violence. So there was 3 people inside the car at the baseball field. They parked in the parking lot, and Kenneth walked up to the car. Now, there was a teen couple as well as the boy in the couple's 15-year-old cousin in the car. They took them all at gunpoint, took them away from the scene, and murdered the boys on site as soon as they got away from the scene of near their where they were. Now, the boys were killed, put inside of their own trunk, and the girl, Louise Sullivan, was taken farther away from the scene, raped in many different ways, especially one with an old broomstick he had in the trunk, which is where the sodomy comes in that you were talking about. And then she was eventually murdered by strangulation, had the broomstick over her throat until she couldn't breathe anymore. She gasped, and she was dead. Now, his friend Roy was freaked out by this. I mean, they dumped all the bodies and everything, and they went their separate ways. Roy was freaked out by this, told a friend, and eventually he confessed to the police what happened with Kenneth because he had a conscience. You know, he felt bad about this. No one ever thinks someone's going to do some crazy shit until someone does some crazy shit.
Yeah, there was no beer involved, so, I mean, there's no clues. Like, you know, normally it's like, hey, hold my beer. You know some crazy shit's about to happen.
Actually, where I'm from, that just means something exciting is going to happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. You never try and stop it. You never try and stop it.
Oh, I'll hold it.
Oh, yeah.
If we're outside, especially, something's going to go down.
Oh, yeah. And then you got to figure out a way to top that.
Oh, no, I don't have a way to top that. I record that shit.
Maybe it's a guy thing.
But anyways, after Roy went to the police and told them what happened, Kenneth was arrested, and Roy actually testified against him in trial. You could see that Roy was, like, super scared by him. He was shaken up by the experience. They said that Roy was mentally handicapped a little bit, so this really was not, like, something he had signed up for originally. It's just something he got involved in from being friends with Kenneth and looking up to him. So anyways, Kenneth tried to say that this wasn't his fault, it was all Roy, and nobody believed him. So it only took 2 hours, and the jury found him guilty and sentenced him to death. So at 20 years old, he was sentenced to death, and he was going to be in the electric chair. Old Sparky.
It's the greatest thing ever.
The greatest thing ever. I've seen The Green Mile. That is horrifying.
Yeah. That's why I gotta wet the sponge. No, honestly, in my honest opinion, I really believe they should bring back the public executions.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, okay, so these days you have all this stuff that's happening, and most states now are trying to abolish the
death penalty.
The death penalty.
Not ours. We live in Florida.
Well, and in the great words of Ron White, Texas is putting in an express line. So, I mean, if there's more than, like, I think 3 witnesses, you go straight to the front, which I don't know how well that's going on or anything. But anyways, most states are trying to get rid of it. You know, they switched to lethal injection because
that's still death penalty.
Less whatever. Yes, I know.
That's the only way they do death penalty now.
But it's like, it's not, you know, people don't think about it because they just don't care or whatever.
What do you mean they don't think about it? I don't understand.
Okay, so when you do a crime or whatever, you don't think about it. But I'm saying, if you're like, say you're like a little kid or something like that, or obviously, you know, you would probably have some way to govern that, like have a certain age that you have to be.
Oh, I get it.
But if you're like a kid and you witness somebody getting hung for whatever they did, or a firing squad, then as you grow up, you're gonna think twice before doing something.
Like you're gonna see the
Nowadays, it's like nothing. Nowadays, they live in jail pretty much their entire life, paid for by us, and then they, you know, get killed from the death sentence, and by that time it's just whatever. I'm like, no, bring back public execution.
Okay, what does public executions have to do with anything? I mean, just because they'll see what's going to happen and then they'll like
it'll hit them. It'll sink in.
You don't think that's traumatizing?
That's why you make it a certain age.
Here's a certain age. Let's see someone die.
Don't do stupid. Don't commit crime. Because after a while, it's going to start. The crime rate's going to start dropping.
But honey, there's the issue here: is that a lot of people on death row are actually innocent.
Well, okay, that's a whole other issue. That's something else. But I'm talking about for those that, without a doubt, you know they're messed up.
But
they did something.
But that's the thing: you're only charged with a crime beyond a reasonable doubt that you did it.
Yeah.
So, see, there's an iffy. So what you're saying is you're pro death penalty for sure?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that somewhere else things have to change. I'm just saying for those that you know.
But you never know.
Oh, there are some you know.
Okay, yeah, we're not talking about Bundy here, but like, there's a lot of people on death row currently who probably are innocent, or the technology back when they were originally prosecuted for their crime was faulty, or it was based off of witness statements, which isn't real evidence.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not saying that it's, you know, it's a...
Now, if you find someone's DNA inside of somebody and they're dead, like, it's kind
exactly.
of... Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
See, that's... I mean, I'm not saying, like, just that. I'm just saying, you know, some other issues will have to be changed and everything. But I'm just saying, for those that you know without a doubt, like, this whatever, Bring back public execution. Because I guarantee you, after a couple years, those crime rates are going to start dropping and dropping. And then what it is, because you were saying like it might be traumatizing and stuff like that to kids.
Yeah.
Yes, but then that's when you start getting like freaking parents actually doing their job, actually explaining to their kids and teaching their kids. Because nowadays, some parents, their kids just do whatever. And most of the time, that's when, the kids grow up and start having problems and start actually committing bad things. Because just, parents these days, sometimes they just don't care. They don't do their job as a parent. Like me. Like I know nowadays, I got my ass whooped left and right to where there was no doubt that was wrong. This is right. For the most part, don't do that. And blah, blah, blah. But, and, I'm not calling anybody out, but there are some that's like, oh, that's abusive, so they don't do that, and blah, blah, blah. And
hey, everyone has their own right to parent how they want.
Everyone has their own things, but to an extent, that can also be bad. Because then it's, They
have the freedom to raise their child how they want.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, an ass whooping goes a long way down the road.
I mean, I got my ass whooped. I'm not going to act like I didn't. You know what? I was terrified.
Exactly.
And I was an angel child because of it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of methods.
Yeah.
And then you start playing psychological warfare where you have the kid go pick out his own switch off the tree.
Get your own switch. That was great. That's not great.
No, and then you come back with like this fat one, and they're like, no, go pick another one. So then you come back with this skinny one. Ooh, that stings. Actually, that never really happened. My mom told me that story. That's what she did as a kid. They made her go pick her own switch. No, I've had the belt. I've had the spoon. I've had the hand. I've even had something that we legitimately called the hand, where my mom's husband at the time literally traced out his hand on this like inch thick plywood or something and then cut it out in the shape of a hand, and that was our paddle.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, literally called it the hand. Oh yeah, it was great. I was like, don't make me get the hand. That was it. It was over. Oh, problem solved.
That's so scary.
That's great.
It's so scary.
It wasn't abusive. It's not like they just went like balls to the walls, hardcore, just all strength in it. No. It was appropriate for my age. I
mean, maybe.
But no, it goes a long way. And what's funny is because my mom would do this too. Like every time I would get in trouble or, I'd be sent to my room, I'd get a spanking or whatever, and I'd be sent to my room and I'd cry, blah, blah, blah. Eventually I'd cry myself to sleep. That was the best sleep I ever had, by the way. If you've ever cried yourself to sleep and then you wake up,
hey,
it's the best sleep you've ever had.
You may not know this, but I am clinically depressed emo person. I've cried myself to sleep more times than I could possibly count.
And when you wake up, it's great.
No.
Okay.
Well, no, the depression.
For me it was. But no, my mom would always like later that night, when everything's calmed down, she'd actually come in and actually talk to me, like sit down and actually talk to me like an actual, human being or whatever. She didn't just, spank my ass and then that was it. No, she actually.
That's what I got. I think.
Yeah, she actually.
After we talked about
she'd
it.
She'd actually come in later and, because obviously she didn't like spanking me or anything like that, but we'd talk and, whatever.
Well, at least you talked.
I understood stuff. And
I don't think most people talk about it after. They just deal with it.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that's great, I guess. The
look
hand,
at me now.
Yeah, the hand thing's freaking horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
So back to our story. Anyways, he was sentenced to death from the electric chair, and electric chair seems way scarier than lethal injection to me.
Oh, it is.
Because you're gonna feel it, But anyways, the Supreme Court actually overturned the death penalty after he was granted 2 stays of execution. So when it was overturned and saying that it was no longer able to be used, which also was reinstated in 1974, obviously it was reinstated, but I just wanted to point out when it was reinstated. But he was sentenced in 1966 for this, November of 1966. So he was obviously up for parole for no longer having a death penalty case.
Do you know why he got 2 stays?
2 stays of execution. People do appeals all the time. He just did 2 appeals. Saying something was wrong with your court case, saying that his friend testifying against him was lying, blah, blah, blah. People do anything to get appeals.
Not only that, but it got approved twice.
Oh, you don't actually get approved for appeals. It's just you have something in the system waiting.
I see.
Yeah, when you have paperwork in the system. Yeah. So anything's not processed. It just sits there. So he did file for 2 stays of execution, and by that time, the Supreme Court actually overturned the death penalty, leaving him open to the possibility of parole because he was no longer going to die there. So, anyways, the 1980s in Texas were a really bad time for the prison system in general. There was a lot of overcrowding, and they actually released thousands upon thousands of individuals, even violent offenders. They were releasing so many people at a time that the lowercase crimes, like the white-collar crimes and everything, they already let them all go, so they ended up ranking up to more violent crimes, including death penalty cases that were up for parole at the time, just to let people out of the prisons and less overcrowding. So on October 11th, 1989, Kenneth Allen McDuff was actually granted parole. Now, if anyone you're going to keep in the prison that's overcrowded, I think you'd keep the triple murderer, in prison, but they didn't.
Sodomite.
Yeah, honestly, you're going to, do that and then, choke a girl and, not let her breathe with a broomstick after you put it inside. It's horrible.
Smoother? I mean, you know how many freaking spinners she must have had?
Oh, that's horrible. Why would you say that? That's horrible. But anyways, he was granted parole. So he was actually sent back into jail for a little bit after being granted parole for being racist. He was calling some black teenagers names and actually pulled a knife on them and was cussing them out. So after, you think that'd put him back in jail for a really long time, especially since he was already on parole and broke it. But no, he was out after a couple more months. So in 1991, when he was out, he was actually living in Waco, Texas, buying and selling drugs to make ends meet. Now, what do you know actually about Waco? Waco, not the place, but Waco, the event. What do you know about that?
That I've heard about it. That's it.
That's it?
When
I hear the word Waco, I'm like, oh, shit.
All I know is something happened.
Oh, no. When I hear the word Waco, I'm like, oh, that went down.
I'm not much for history person.
It's not really history. It's not old. It's it's not old. You don't hear Waco and just, actually cringe. No. Okay. Well, we'll show you the video.
It's kind of fun, though. It's fun to say Waco.
Waco, yeah. It's very roll off the tongue. Very nice. But anyways, in 1991, he was living in Waco, Texas, buying and selling drugs, like I said. Now, he was violating parole by doing this, but they actually didn't bother putting him back in jail. The parole officer didn't want to deal with him anymore, so he just let him continue this, even though he knew he was doing this. So, again, they said he was into pain. He was really harsh with prostitutes that he was hiring for stuff, as they do. I don't know why I made that so awkward, it's not a normal thing. But anyways, they kept bringing up that he was into pain. I really don't like that. But in October of 1991, a police officer actually approached him at a roadblock and saw a woman tied up and screaming, trying to kick out a window in his back seat. So obviously, Kenneth fled the scene and actually got away. You think that, because you can see someone's license plate as they're running away and fleeing the scene, that you would, chase after this person farther and, investigate and try to research and see if the woman's okay. But they actually didn't put a manhunt on at that time. But a couple nights after this, he actually killed another woman. So both of these women, within a few nights of each other, were dead after being seen in his car. Both these women were prostitutes, so it probably didn't cause, the biggest stir in the town in general. But on December 29th, 1991, there was a man named Alva Hank Worley who Kenneth had made friends with, and they were going to go to Austin. Now, Colleen Reed, who was an office worker and was apparently loved by everyone, was kind of sick that day. She had taken a nap in the afternoon, and she decided to get up later that day to go do some errands. She dropped off some cash and put it into the bank, and then she decided to go get a car wash. Now, Kenneth was circling around the parking lot and decided to attack her and take her away from the scene to rape her and murder her. And, of course, Alva was with him as well. Now, 2 months later after this first initial attack, there was a pregnant woman of 2 named Melissa Ann Northrup, and she was scared to work the night shift, actually. They said that she was scared to be alone at night because of everything that was going on, no security. She couldn't see people coming in and out of the store. And I feel like people have a natural instinct when something's going to go wrong. I've heard a lot of stories where people know they're going to die or know something bad's going to happen.
Yeah,
so
it's a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Your sixth sense.
Survivor instinct, yeah.
Absolutely. You can tell when someone's looking at you, for sure. But anyways, that's exactly what happened to her. So Kenneth's car broke down near the street, near her store, and she ended up going missing as well, and her car was gone. So he took her car, and his car was broken down the side of the street. Now, because his car was broken down nearby, and they knew his history, and they know that 2 women were last seen with him that went missing, this actually started the manhunt to find him, and obviously he killed her as well. But that's pretty horrible. Why are you going to kill a pregnant woman? That seems like worse than killing a normal person somehow.
Yeah, because it's 2 deaths.
Yeah, I know. It just seems like an extra targeted death. Now, once the manhunt started for him, it actually took 6 weeks to catch him. So when his father was questioned about where his son might be, he said, I don't know. If you find him, you can kill him if you want to. So obviously his dad wasn't a big supporter of Kenneth these days, and he was obviously a troubled child and just gotten worse and worse. So after he was, let out of prison from death row, he got a second break. He decided to just keep killing people. Some people are just messed up. honestly. Anyways, eventually the police would connect Alva Worley to Kenneth, and he would, after a couple visits, break down and confess to Colleen Reed's car wash abduction, rape, and torture. Now, they tortured her for hours inside of the car, raping her in many different ways. And after a couple hours, they eventually decided to strangle her and leave her in an old gravel road near Kenneth's old property, or his family property. So that's where they found her body. And that was actually the one case that eventually went to trial for him when he was caught 6 weeks later. They also found the half-buried body of Valencia Johnson, a prostitute, near an old technical college. She was last seen looking for McDuff near the college, and she was actually the only African-American victim. I'm only pointing that out because he was obviously a racist from what he did when he got out on parole the first time. Melissa Worthrop's body was actually found near a river. Afterwards, she was the last one to be found. There is known to be 9 to 14 victims of Kenneth. We don't have an actual precise number on that. Of course, he doesn't commit to everything. He did admit to our last episode, the Austin yogurt shop murders, but then before death row, he said no, he didn't actually do that. He just wanted to add his body count up, but he had nothing to do with that one case. Now, how he was caught is actually through America's Most Wanted, which was such a good show. I think it's still going on. I haven't seen it in a while.
I've heard of it.
America's Most Wanted, it was such a good show. I mean, I know it's not supposed to be entertaining, but like it is. But I always think it's really cool when they actually catch someone from that, or they like solve an unsolved mystery from Unsolved Mysteries. I just love those kind of things. But they did a segment on him in May of 1992, and a viewer who's working with him in a trash company under a false name in Missouri actually identified him. They wanted to check up on this lead, and it turned out to be Kenneth McDuff. They sent him back to Waco, and he actually requested a change of venue for his trial since it was such a highly publicized case in Waco where he was killing these women. So the jury only took 4 hours to find him guilty, and he was sentenced to death again. At this time, they had lethal injection, though.
Only 4 hours?
Yeah, it only took him 4 hours.
4 minutes.
I know, you're the Broomstick Murderer.
I wouldn't even had a trial. Just sit down, and here we have Kenneth guilty. Okay, can we go home now?
He said he would, like, if you see his footage and stuff, they didn't have audio in the courtroom, but they just had video, and he just looked so bored to be there. Like, did not care. Like, why are you even doing a trial, dude? Plead guilty, save everyone some trouble. But yeah, he pled guilty, and he was sentenced to death again, but he was going to get lethal injection. He claimed to be innocent during the trial, so he'd see if he could get away with it, but obviously he knew he wasn't getting away with it. And before his execution day, he started giving up extra information. They found 3 more bodies in 1998 with directions from McDuff. In November 17th, 1998, he was given the lethal injection. His final words were, "I'm ready to be released. Release me." Isn't that kind of ominous?
Nah.
I mean, I would think of something better to say for my last words, personally.
It just shows that he had no regrets for what he did.
I'm ready to be released. Release me. So dramatic, you know? Also, because it's one of my favorite things to do, I found out his last meal. I don't know why, but I really am interested in people's last meals. I think we should do like a mini episode on like, you know, what we would pick and like some interesting ones that we've seen. And also there is like a limitation now on what you can order because of someone's crazy last meal. So I find those things interesting. But his last meals, according to the death row chef, Brian Price, there's a death row chef. Is that not like, how do you get that job?
I wonder his ratings are.
Yeah, like, is there like a Yelp review of this? Is there like, how do you apply to be the death row chef? You only have to like work every like 6 months because they don't kill people all the time, you know? But his last meal was actually a hamburger fashioned to resemble his request, which was a steak. So he didn't really actually get his last request. And you know what? Fuck him. It's fine. Yeah. Now, in the 90s, because of them letting a death row inmate out on parole and him killing more people, they decided to reform the prison system in Texas. They started building bigger facilities and more facilities that could hold more prisoners. As we know, America has a very large prison population. And in the 1990s, the McDuff laws overturned some of the legislation, so they would build more prisons and not let violent offenders out on parole.
We're the leading. The world, that is one of the things that America is leading over, is number of people incarcerated per capita.
Yes, absolutely. Have you seen all those memes, though? Like, since we have such a high incarceration rate, that people are like, women love men in uniform and they're wearing a prison outfit?
I've probably seen them.
It's
not recently.
It's kind of funny.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's still uniform technically, but not the same.
Yeah, they always go for the bad boys.
I go for both because I have nothing to base anything off of.
Yeah, you're broken. It's okay.
We're all broken. Just mine's more noticeable than others.
Yeah.
But anyways, what do you think of this case? It's stupid they let him out the first time, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know what I think. Just taking his ass out and fucking shot him, or hung him. Oh, bring back the guillotine.
Oh no! You know how I feel about
French.
decapitation.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate decapitation.
French. The old
We.
Oué.
We.
Yeah, it's we.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us for another case.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what we do next time. I have no clue.
I don't either. I actually have an idea. I think I want to do like a more popular case next, since no one's heard of this case before.
Yeah, well, we will leave it for surprise for them then to tune in.
Okay, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.